This is the Grand Canyon Hiker-Dude Show, powered by Hike Tribe, a community dedicated to helping each other hike our best hikes. Now, here's the host of the Grand Canyon Hiker-Dude Show, my hubby and the co-founder of Hike Tribe, Brian Special.
Well, what is it about the one-day Rim2Rim2Rim? It's a question I find myself struggling with these days a bit as more and more hikers, it seems, are aspiring to what is a long, brutally difficult trek across the canyon and back. That's an enormous physical challenge, even in perfect conditions. In fact, just this morning, I ran into a buddy on Black Mountain who had never hiked the canyon before at all. His name is Steve Martin, and he's in our Facebook group. And I'd watched him build himself up to, I think, 7 back-to-back laps on Black, which is a lot. That's more than 8,000 vertical feet of gain and loss in one go. So he had certainly built up a high level of fitness over the past year or so. Steve had just returned from a planned Rim to River that he decided, on the fly, to turn into a Rim2Rim2Rim because he said when he got to the bottom, he was feeling good and just decided to keep on going. Well, he survived it over 26 hours and said blisters and foot issues slowed him down. 26 hours, you know he had to suffer for a lot of that. So, well, it can be done as a maiden voyage, but you will never hear me advising it. Look, in a way, I get it. While Rim to Rim is the true bucket list hike in the Grand Canyon, the double crossing has a certain allure and mystique to it. I first heard of R3 on the first Rim to River I did a few years ago after rediscovering a passion for hiking the canyon. I was leapfrogging with a young couple on the way down South Kaibab that morning and asked them where they were headed. The North Rim, they said, and then back again. I got to tell you, that just blew my mind at the time. I remember them saying their goal was to do it in 24 hours, and I also remember thinking of them the next morning after I'd driven home to Phoenix and had a full night's sleep. They might still be out there, I thought. Wow. Well, fast forward a bit, and after hundreds of canyon miles, including rim to rivers, rim to rims, and ultimately a rim to rim from south to north with an overnight on the north side and then a return rim to rim the next day, I figured I had built myself up to the point where I, too, could make an attempt at the tantalizing one-day double crossing. I did it in a bit over 19 hours, and having running experience in my past, including a pair of marathons, I can say without a doubt the one-day R3 was much more difficult. It is just hard to overstate the beating your body takes over such a long period of time, especially considering you're enduring more than 22,000 feet of elevation change over 42-plus miles. By the way, if you go back to episodes 2 and 3 of this podcast, I recount that first R3 in detail from the trail, so please check that out. Now, my own experience is why you will hear me say over and over again that if R3 is your goal, the best course of action is to slowly build up to it. To me, that must include doing so in the canyon, as there is simply no substitute anywhere for the unique nature of canyon hiking. What do I mean by unique? Well, on almost every hike, you'll start by climbing up to a peak and then go back down. In the Grand Canyon, it's exactly the opposite. You go down first, a long way down for a long time before the trail levels out, and only after hours on your feet do you start the very difficult climb out. You simply have to get used to that first, because if you've never done it, you have no idea how your legs or your body are going to react. Personally, I'm still learning about that to this day and can't tell you the number of times I've gotten to the bottom of the canyon and realized my legs were not feeling so good, and now I needed them for the hardest part of the hike, which of course is the ascent. Well, with Rim to Rim to Rim, you have to do that twice. So when I hear folks talking about doing R3 having never even seen the canyon before, much less hiked it, it worries me a lot. Oh, and this is before you even factor in not knowing how you'll handle your nutrition, your hydration, and probably most importantly, what time of year you're choosing to take this hike on. If you're doing it in May through October, well, how are you going to handle the heat? What's your plan? Because no matter what, you're not doing this hike in less than, say, 18 hours or so, and it will probably take you a lot longer. So at some point, you're likely going to be hiking in the middle of the day, when there can be nowhere to hide from the brutal sun and the Arizona heat. And do not think bad things cannot happen to you. They can and do happen to even the most experienced of us. If you take the canyon for granted even a little bit, you can pay the price. It just happened to me last week. Yeah, it's May, and I'd been watching the forecast very carefully, hoping to do a one-day R3 if conditions allowed. Well, here came a spring cold front. Let's go. And the forecast was for rain and clouds and cool temperatures with highs between the 40s and the 60s. Oh yeah, it sounded so good. So off I went. I drove up from Phoenix, checked into a motel in Valley about 25 minutes south of the park at about 6 p.m., slept for about 4 hours, from 8 until about midnight, and then dropped in from the South Kaibab trailhead in a misty 39-degree rain at 1:11 a.m. I didn't see daylight until 4 hours later, right as I was coming out of the box on North Kaibab, about 12 or 13 miles in. When you're doing rim to rim to rim, it can take 24 hours or more if you're a hiker. So you're gonna have to hike through the night on one side or the other. So I chose to drop in at 1 o'clock in the morning. And it's not a particularly enjoyable experience hiking in the Grand Canyon in total darkness, because you know the views you're missing, number one. Number two, it is just pitch blackness, and you're looking down at an artificial light for hours on end, and it's not a lot of fun. I'm definitely feeling it already. You know, my feet don't feel great. You know, my legs are a little beat up because the descent down South Kaibab, 4,800 feet over 7 miles, can really take it out of you, can take a toll on you. Don't feel great, but you're never gonna feel totally great on a rim to rim to rim. Gonna have to suffer at some point, and I'm sure a lot more of that is ahead. Cruising along on this ugly but beautiful day, if you know what I mean. Now I want you to remember the sound of my voice there. Still chipper, still upbeat, still strong, but deteriorating just a bit as I neared the North Kaibab trailhead. Coconino Overlook, 7/10 of a mile from the top. Oh my gosh, this is hard. 7/10 to go. And this is about the time, since it's rim to rim to rim, that I'm gonna have to start preparing myself for one of the hardest parts of rim to rim to rim. And that's completing one rim to rim and turning around and dropping back in to do another one immediately. It's a mental hurdle. I'm tired, and I still got another one to do. Onward. Oh. North Kaibab trailhead, 21 miles, 5,860 vertical feet gained from the Colorado River, 8 hours and 37 minutes total time. Oh man, I don't know if the elevation gets me. It's over 8,000 feet up here. I just feel like I'm gasping a little bit here at the end, but my time was really good. 8.5 hours, 8:37. It's pretty solid for me. But you can probably tell from my voice that I'm pretty spent. So I'm going to relax here for a few minutes, and then we're going to get right back to it, which, you know, it's a lot more fun when you do a rim to rim and you finish here on the North Rim, and then you go to the lodge and have lunch, have dinner, stay the night, just hang out in this incredible place. But the North Rim is still closed for another 9 days, so you can't even access it. The mental challenge of having to turn around now and go all the way back to the south side and going up South Kaibab on top of it. Got 14 miles and 5,800 feet that we're going to have to take all the way to the river and then up South Kaibab. So the rest of it and get back at it. The conditions to this point, just about perfect. You'll often hear me talk about the joy of the canyon in November. Well, these conditions were just as good. It was 45 degrees at the top of North Kaibab, and as I turned around and headed back to the south side, the low-hanging clouds kept things cool and misty and gave me some wind beneath my wings. The weather, as you can see, is surreal. I would put this at maybe even better than any November weather that I've ever hiked in, and I talk about November all the time. I had my wife check the weather when I was at the top, 45 degrees at the North Kaibab trailhead. it's cold, and I'm feeling it. The more I stopped, I was like, oh, I better get going because I'm starting to really get cold. It's misty. It rained on me for a good portion of the way down South Kaibab overnight. But it's just been kind of overcast and, yeah, just kind of misty and otherworldly feeling. It's been amazing. As I entered the frying pan, oh boy, the first sign of trouble. The clouds began breaking up, and I could feel the immediate effect. And I hadn't even prepared my mind for it. The forecast was for cloud cover all day, but the canyon can be full of surprises. Cruising through the frying pan in the middle of the day, that's the section between Cottonwood Campground and the box, where the canyon walls close in on you. But while the box gets all of the notoriety, let me just tell you, the frying pan is just as dangerous, and also a place that you do not want to be in the middle of a summer day or a hot day in the spring or fall. There's nowhere to hide out here, very little shade, and it just gets so hot with that sun beating down on you. Today, on one of the nicest hiking days that I can remember, when it felt like November on the North Rim, well, down here at the bottom, it is in the low 70s, and the sun is overhead, and this is as warm as I would ever want it to be. So those of you who are doing Rim2Rims at a time when the weather will not be this nice, which will be almost the entirety of Rim2Rim season, please take all precautions. Use the shade tracker. You do not want to be in the box or in the frying pan in the middle of the day. Bad things can happen. Please trust me on that. By the time I cruised past Phantom Ranch and stopped at Boat Beach to refill my water and stand in the icy Colorado for a few minutes, the sun was fully out. It was 4 p.m. I wasn't feeling right. Self-inflicted wounds from a lack of proper nutrition and balancing my electrolytes. I'd been using ketone shots for a while now, which suppress your appetite while still giving you energy. My problem, well, it was relying on them too heavily for such a long, grueling hike and not supplementing them with enough real food. Worse, I had planned on a slice of cold pizza and an apple, but I had left them in the cooler in my car. I was distracted that morning. I'd been talking to my wife on the drive up, and then she was reading me a meditation as I walked to the trailhead, so I just forgot everything. I had let my guard down just a bit. I probably could have gotten away with it on a shorter hike, even on a Rim2Rim, but the double crossing is a different story. The margin for error is significantly smaller. My gut was not happy, and now I was facing the brutal climb up South Kaibab, 6.5 miles and 4,800 vertical feet, when in hindsight, it was already too late. So I'm between Black Bridge and Tip-Off right now, and this became a suddenly sunny and warm day. Look, I would say temperatures are probably in the upper 60s to low 70s, and there's actually a cool breeze. But being in the direct sun like this, going up South Kaibab, is taking its toll on me, especially at the end of a Rim2Rim2Rim, 37 or so miles into this thing, 36 miles into this thing. Sitting here in the shelter at the tip-off, and the wheels have completely come off.
Bright Angel Outfitters is now Hike Tribe, a community for all of us. Join the tribe at hiketribe.club and our private Facebook group, Hike Tribe Grand Canyon, the official group of the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show. Hike Tribe. Let's go get it.
Man, I don't even know. I don't even know what to say. I feel like I was not ready for this sun because we had the cool, misty weather for the entirety of the day, and then all of a sudden, when I got in the box, frying pan area, the sun started to come out, and it got real warm real quick, and I do not do well in sun, obviously, even when it's mild like this is, like probably low 70s. And when I was coming up Tip-Off, man, I just had to stop. Started to feel extremely nauseous. I don't know. All I do know is I got to get out of here. It's up to me to get out of here. So
Been sitting to tip off for about 15 minutes. I need to get moving. Maybe I need to throw up or something because I feel terrible. God, man, it's so frustrating. Just when you think you got it all figured out, something else pops up. This feels very similar to how I felt when I had a real bad experience 2 summers ago in June or July. I was coming up here in the dark and ran out of water and just felt nauseous. And then finally somebody gave me some water and I threw up. And I feel like I'm in that position again. So this is not going to be probably very pretty getting out of here, but did it to myself, so I got to get out of here. So let's go.
Well, I did throw up shortly thereafter and multiple times the rest of the hike out. I just could not eat anything. It's hard to describe the feeling of trying to, but not being able to chew or swallow. I had water, but I couldn't keep it down. The good news is that fickle Grand Canyon weather had returned. Another system rolled in, bringing cloudy and cool weather for the rest of the hike. But if I'm being honest, I didn't care all that much at that point. The damage had been done, and now I had the red and white switchbacks below Skeleton Point to deal with.
Skeleton Point, 3 miles to go. I threw up, I feel better, but I don't feel good. I probably don't sound too good either. 3 miles to go.
The last 3 miles were slow, tedious, zero fun. But eventually, I made it. I had started up South Kaibab at 4:04 p.m. On a normal day, I can make it to the top from there in under 3 hours. This time, it took me a shade under 5, with a total time of 19 hours and 45 minutes.
I'm out. 19 hours and 45 minutes, 42 miles. The last 6.5 miles from the bridge. It's the worst hiking experience of my entire life. So now I got to break that down and figure out what the heck went wrong. Some days are just not your day, I guess. But I'm pretty ticked off about it. Anyway, on to the next one.
And I got to tell you, the recovery from this one took far longer than any I had ever dealt with before. I didn't feel like doing anything for days. I felt low. I felt depressed, worn out, and really, angry with myself because I knew that I had not put myself in the best possible position for success. I had not taken it seriously enough. I somehow had allowed myself to forget things in my car, and my nutrition plan was not thought out enough. Again, those are things you might get away with on a Rim2Rim or a Rim2River, but not on a Rim2Rim2Rim. And it can happen. It can happen to any of us. Back in January, I did a one-day R3 with 2 very experienced canyon hikers, Buffy Park, who moves like a machine, and Coach Arnie, who was doing R3 for the 20th time and had just become the first known person over 65 to do R5, a quadruple crossing just 2 months prior. Coach Arnie is easily one of the most experienced Rim2Rim2Rimmers of all time, so nothing could go wrong with him, right? Well, wrong. The experience I had just had on South Kaibab was very similar to what Coach went through on that cold, dark night. Lack of sleep and perhaps some fueling issues caught up with him as well, and that led to this mea culpa.
I screwed up. I took the canyon for granted. I lost respect for just that small moment of time. And although I was never afraid, never. I've been afraid down there, believe me. It wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. It just makes me stay even more vigilant on what I coach and what I teach and what I do, because I don't want to be the person that's, says one thing and does another. The canyon is a special place, but it's also a very dangerous place.
So all this to say, if it can happen to Coach Arnie, it can happen to anyone. By the way, if you haven't heard it, we did a complete recap of that R3 in episode 64. Look, I think it's fantastic that so many are aspiring to the double crossing. But R3 is very serious business, and your preparation needs to match what you're trying to accomplish. Please know what you're getting yourself into. Building up to it, the progression I always talk about, is the best way. Start with Rim2River or even rim to rim. When you finish that rim to rim, well, think about what it would be like to turn around right then and go back to the other side. I can promise you, it's much more than twice as hard going back because you are already spent. So if you aspire to it, awesome. I want you to do it, but make sure you do it safely. Don't take shortcuts. Build yourself up to it. Progress to the double crossing. And if you've never experienced the unique nature of canyon hiking before, please do not try rim to rim to rim as your maiden voyage. Get some experience and then come back. The canyon isn't going anywhere. Just think about what the great ultra runner Jim Walmsley said the day he set the rim to rim to rim record of an incomprehensible 5 hours and 55 minutes. When Jim finished that first crossing and he was at the North Kaibab trailhead, he had inadvertently set what was at the time the rim to rim record of 2 hours and 46 minutes. Maybe I'll just call it a day right now, he said, because I already know going back up South Kaibab is going to be completely awful. That's one of history's greatest distance runners, knowing the misery he was in for. And it's the only time most of us who have done R3 will ever be able to relate to him because, yes, the return trip is not going to be enjoyable. With an R3, the fun is when it's done. Well, R3 is a topic Coach Arnie and I talk about often on our Saturday morning Black Mountain hikes, and Coach is staying on theme with this week's training tip.
This tip will be a little bit longer because it is about one of my favorite topics, the Grand Canyon R3, rim to rim to rim, what I consider the crown jewel of hikes in the canyon. And here are my 3 things I'm going to discuss that must be embraced if you're going to take on this challenge of an R3, and I mean straight through, a straight through R3. These are 3 things that you must, without question, you must accomplish. Number 1, you must prepare. What do I mean by that? Through your training, working on your strength, your mobility, your endurance, your trail skills, your time on your feet, your nutrition. Nutrition is worked on during your training, during long, long hikes on your feet, hours and hours, thousands and thousands of feet of elevation, up and down. Your hydration is also worked on during these long training sessions. Your heat training, if you come from a cold climate, okay, you need to work on heat training even more dependent on when you choose to go. But regardless, if you're going when most people go, which is either in May or in October, September, October, you could run into some serious heat problems, and you've got to be prepared, which means you've got to do your heat training. And if you don't have access to a hot climate, then you better find a sauna or some other way to prepare for the heat. You must earn this. This is very special to me. You know, I've done 20 R3s, and each one is different. Each one brings different challenges. And if you have prepared properly, if you've done the training, you've worked on your nutrition, you've done your hydration, you've prepared for the heat, you have earned it. Let's look at the second thing, my second most important thing, which is plan your start time. Good grief, this thing is so important. I long ago got rid of that whole 4 a.m. nonsense. Everything is about weather dependent, time of year, when you're going. What's the weather look like? Hot, cold. I will always gauge my start time based on my possible finish time, because that's the most important thing to me. It's how I can schedule my time to avoid heat or whatever else I'm worried about. But you have to plan. Then you have to look at your lodging. You're doing an R3, rim to rim to rim. So depending on where you start is where you're going to finish, which means if you're planning on eating, have you planned for that? If you're on the south rim, there's nothing open after 11 p.m. You're on your own. I'm not even sure about the north rim, but you've only got one choice there, unless you have a ride, and then you've got limited choices in that respect as well. It all depends on when you start and when you finish. But have you planned for that? Have you planned? Believe me, I've been in situations where there was no food. It wasn't fun. So lodging is super important. Where are you? Where are you going to finish? What's available? What have you planned for? Travel. Do you have plans for rides, cabs, the shuttle, the bus, all those things? Do you know how they work? Do you have those phone numbers? Have you set them up with whoever you're going to work with? Have you checked and double checked all that? And here might be the most important thing. What are your contingencies? What are your contingencies? What if? What if you can't finish for whatever reason? What if you can't finish and you are on the north rim or you're on the south rim? South rim, you have a lot more options. Or you're at the bottom. You're at Phantom. You're at Manzanita or somewhere else. What if there's an injury? Do you have a contingency plan? What would you do? Have you thought about it? You better, because it can happen. It's happened to me, so it can happen to you. But you need to think about it. And then the third thing, execute. Look, if you've done those first two things, you've earned it. No half measures here. If you've prepared, if you've planned, go for it. You've earned it. Don't go in halfway. If you're going in, if you're planning and you're telling yourself and you're telling others that you're going to do an R3, do the R3. If you've earned it, and only you know if you've earned it. Only you know if you've earned it. All right, guys, this is Coach Arnie. As usual, if you have a question, especially about doing something crazy like an R3, you can always reach out to me, and I'll give you as best as I can to help you to plan, to prepare, and to execute whatever you want to do. I love you guys. Be serious. Take this seriously. The canyon is a serious place. It's a magical place, but it's a serious place. I love you guys. Talk to you later.
Coach Arnie Fonseca Jr., an exercise physiologist and canyon coach. His contact information is in the show notes. If you have any questions about R3 or anything that you're doing below the rim, feel free to reach out. Coach Arnie will set you on the proper path. And if you're doing rim to rim to rim, folks, just one more time, be careful. Take it seriously. It's a big deal. Don't take shortcuts. Do the work, and you'll no doubt be standing on whichever rim you choose victoriously and having a great life memory and accomplishment to look back on. All right, that's it for now. My name is Brian Special, encouraging you, as always, to go hike the canyon. Take that first step. Embrace the journey. And when you get there, whether it's for time goals or taking your time, just hike your own hike and enjoy every step in the majestic Grand Canyon. We'll see you next time on the Grand Canyon Hiker Dude Show, powered by Hike Tribe. Let's go get it.